Hey, now I've got another instalment today in my kind of cooking for one series that I've been doing. Now today I'm going to do roast lamb, but a little bit different than normal. Now everyone kind of knows pretty much how it is to have a roast leg of lamb, cook a roast leg of lamb, what it looks like, all that kind of stuff. But if it's just for one person, it can be a bit daunting. You cook a whole leg of lamb, you've got the whole leg, and unless you really want to have roast lamb sandwiches for your lunch for the rest of the week, it can be a bit kind of, daunting to a degree, I guess, because it's just such a big mass of meat that you don't want to end up with a whole lot, and you end up just compromising what you're eating because you're only cooking a small amount. Now, I like to think that you don't have to compromise with your cooking, especially if you're only cooking for one person. You can just adapt. Now what I'm doing today, I'm doing roast lamb, but I'm going to use the shanks. Now this is obviously the bottom part of the leg of the lamb. Now this is off one of my lambs that went to slaughter about 3 or 4 months ago, I guess. If you see the back from the butcher's video, these were the actual shanks that I got back from that. Now I'm just going to cook these as individual roasts. So I'm doing 2 because there's not a lot of meat on them. So I'm going to do the 2 of these. I'll actually have them for my dinner tomorrow night, but I'm just going to marinate them today, go through the whole process, and then when I've cooked them tomorrow I'll do another video and I'll show you how they came out. Now shanks have always been pretty popular with Australians. Everyone loves a shank soup, all that kind of stuff. They really do get transformed from their tough, sinewy kind of meat into a nice melt off the bone kind of meat through slow cooking. So they've always been relatively cheap, but nowadays you can get pre-cooked ones in plastic bags and all this kind of stuff. The restaurant industry kind of cottoned on to shanks a few years back. They've gone up in price a little bit, but they're still relatively cheap as far as a cut of meat goes. So just think of them as little individual roast legs of lamb. Now, what I'm going to do, I've got my roasts. Now, I'm just using the bag that they actually came in from the butchers, so we're not reusing anything else. Now, put these aside. Now, all I'm going to do, I just want a nice simple marinade. The lamb itself can be quite a delicate, gamey-esque kind of meat. It's definitely got its own taste, completely different from beef and chicken and pork and everything else, obviously. But I don't want to mask that taste of the actual meat itself. So I'm going to use a few things to enhance it, but I don't want to overpower it. On big legs, especially garlic and things like that are quite nice, but quite overpowering for smaller cuts. On a bigger leg, they're quite good because they kind of mingle with the existing taste of the lamb and it's not so bad, it's quite nice. But on a smaller cut like this, I think it's better to stick to just, tried and true basic kind of things. So what I'm going to do, I've got my trusty mortar and pestle. Now I've just got a sprig of rosemary from the garden, and we'll just strip that off, take the leaves off. Don't use the stalk, although you could chuck it in if you wanted to, but it doesn't matter. And I've also got some thyme, and I'll just break that up a bit. I won't worry so much about the stalks on that. So just a bit of rosemary, a bit of thyme, and I'll add some pepper, just to give it a bit of kind of a harsh consistency to grind up with. And I'm just going to use some olive oil, just a little bit, nice light olive oil, and that's it. Now you can add salt to things like this. I'm not going to, because I'll add the salt later on, so I'm just going to keep it nice and plain. Now just give it a quick bash. We don't have to reduce it to a paste or anything like that. Try and keep it relatively chunky, but I want all the oils and flavours and smells and everything to come out of the herbs that I'm using, so I just really want to bruise them more than anything else, just to break it up and get all that smell and taste out of the herbs. Just give it a quick grind. Now, this is the easy bit. Get your bag, put your legs in, for your shanks. Just put them end to end. And all I'm going to do, now the shanks have already been cut too, so you can see butchers will cut them like that. They generally won't keep them as a whole shank, they'll generally cut them. So on a bigger piece of meat you could score little holes in, poke in your flavours and your herbs and all that kind of stuff. But such a small piece of meat, I won't worry about it. Alright, now we'll just pour this in. Make sure you get it all out. Make sure there's no holes in your bag too, for obvious reasons. And I'll put a little bit more olive oil in there. Good slosh. Alright, grab your bag. Just close it off a little bit at the top and squeeze the air out. And then just give it a good massage. This way you get it pretty much over every part of it. You keep your hands clean. And the marinade will sit on every single part of the actual leg. So this is good for all kinds of cuts of meat that you can actually fit into a bag, because I'll show you, I'll just make sure that's all rubbed in, get it into all the little nooks and crannies. Then all I need to do, get as much air out as you can, give it a bit of a twist, and that's it. Everything's kind of coated in there. It's not like when you actually place marinade in a bowl or something, there's always some meat or whatever you're marinating hanging out of the actual marinade itself. It's got nowhere else to go, so it's literally going to sit on the meat like that. Now, pardon me, I'm going to eat this tomorrow night, so it's lunchtime today, so that'll sit in there for a good 24 hours. If you even leave it in marinade for about 3 or 4 hours, that's great. Overnight's perfect if you can. I'll bang that in the fridge. Tomorrow night I'll get it out and I'll put it in the oven for about, say on about 120, 130, so a low heat, probably for about 2 hours or so, and I'll add a couple more things to it too then. But that's the first step, so that's all nice and marinated. Now you can do this with other smaller cuts of lamb as well, or beef or anything, but with lamb you could use 4/4 chops, loin chops, racks, the neck, any part you like really, except for the major players, the big bits. But that's it. So I've just got some olive oil, ground black pepper, and some thyme and some rosemary. I've grown organically, of course, in the garden. And that's it. I'll bang that in the fridge. I'll come back tomorrow and I'll roast it and I'll eat it and I'll show you. Alright, cool. Any questions, just give me a yell, alright? Cool. I'll see you soon.